The race director was still there. The finish line was torn down. And so the central question to Borderlands was, how do you keep going when the finish line is torn down? Now I can pour that into running as far as I possibly can. I get into it, I'm just really bad at it. I'm really bad at mentally, I'm just garbage. So with carrying all the weight, all the entrepreneurial risk, there had to be a way to offload that. You only have a few options. I could either consume too much alcohol, or I could...
Let's just go do it, or let's build on this, or let's keep going. Because every time I feel stagnant, I gotta do something, I gotta change the paradigm or do something. It might fail, it might flop, but it's like, well, at least I did it.
The desire, once you're up close and personal with other people who've taken the risk, there's an element of it that just, for me, if it's something that is for you and you're close to that risk, you want to take on the risk as well.
If you're looking for a blanket around the house or the perfect gift for someone that they'll actually use, you have to check out Minky Couture blankets. Their Hugs blankets are soft, comfortable, and definitely the blanket you'll use every day around your house. They also make dog beds, so your dog can be just as comfortable as you are. Use the link in the description or use code Small Lake City for 50% off your Minky Couture order. I know, and then that's the fun part too, is you don't know how good, so even other friends, let's think about your non-ultra trail running friends of some sort.
Yeah.
You try and be like, oh, I had this guy on the podcast. They're like, oh, that's neat. You're like, you don't realize this guy just won UTMB last year.
Right.
And he's everybody fanboys over him. They're like,
yeah,
cool, I got a promotion to associate director of operations and marketing strategy. And you're like, that's so cool. And he's like, well, why don't you care more? It's like, well, we just don't know. And so it's until you can sit down and actually talk to people to be like, so help me understand this world, because there's so many weird ones. And ultra trail running is one of those super, running itself is niche.
Yeah,
and then ultra running is also super niche. Yep. So when you see people, especially in a community, it's a small one.
Yeah, totally.
But Josh, I'm excited because it's kind of a roundabout way that I kind of reached out to you. So my girlfriend, very active in running community. She's from the Fargo, North Dakota area. Whoa. And so very different than here. Came here for her PhD and got connected to running, just trying to find a community, fell in love with it. And one day she came up to me, it was a month ago. She's like, hey, Eric, can I make a request for someone on the podcast? I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, so there's this other podcast I've been listening to a lot, and his name is Josh Rosenthal, and it's really interesting, and I want to hear about it and hear about this. And I was like, yeah, let me do my search of does it fit the snuff test? And I start scrolling, yeah, we're good. Wow. And then yada, 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 here we are. And so it's and my favorite guest, because people ask me all the time, oh, if you could have anybody on, who would you have? And I'm like, yeah, it's so easy to answer that question because, I would want to have Ryan Smith. Yeah, I'd want to have Post Malone. Yeah, I'd want to have all of these, famous people who live here, people that people know of in the community. Yeah. But my favorite people recently are the people that I don't know, or these little rabbit holes that are so specific. Yeah. And so bring you into the equation of running in Salt Lake, plus everything that you're building in Borderlands. It's so interesting to see that, the timing of everything that you've done has been so great, especially with how much, trail running has blown up, especially here, shout out COVID. And I'm so curious about it all. Similar to we were talking about with Jesse Rich, where, he wasn't a runner at all in high school. We played lacrosse together, but it wasn't serious. We're not getting scholarships. We're not trying to make the varsity team, because there wasn't one, there's just one team, until he's like, oh, I'm going to go run with my brother. And then he's like, I'm going to go run a lot with my brother. And then it becomes this kind of new, almost Rubik's Cube of how do I get better at this? How do I kind of solve this thing? So stoked to talk about it all.
Yeah, man, that's a fun way to hear about how I ended up here. To me, when I saw your request came in through Instagram and I missed it. I don't always see when it comes in as a request and I, wasn't following you yet. I've been out of the country for a few years. And then I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is I'm always dying to tell my version of the story that's most interconnected with Salt Lake, because of the podcast, everything I do, it's global. It has a global audience. And so if I get too niche, if I get too into Salt Lake City, if I talk about if I fan out too much on Salt Lake, then it loses my broader audience. I don't get the chance to talk about how much Salt Lake City has meant to me and how much, I've been formed by and shaped by Salt Lake City, all the stuff that I've done dating back to 2002. So I just in general, I am beyond excited to get to have this conversation.
Right. And I'm excited to get to the point of when kind of like a lot of your appreciation came into it all. I mean, especially like talking with Jesse, because like I know there's a lot of trail runners here, and trail running community is huge. And anybody who's looking for a community, especially when you come to Salt Lake and you're like, let's say you're from Midwest, and you're like, oh, I don't really know how to find people or meet people in adulthood, because that's a whole nother problem to solve for. But then the nice thing about Utah is so many people come here for the outdoors, and then there's like the 6 outdoor activities you can subscribe to and make your entire personality. Right. And I would say the easiest ones with like the lowest barrier to entry is running.
Absolutely.
And especially when you're like, oh, I moved here for these mountains, best way to go explore them is to go run through them. And the next thing you know, you're in a run club, and then you're meeting all these people, and then you're at Fisher having beers, and it just keeps going on and on.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I got here in 2002 from West Texas. Grew up in Lubbock, Texas.
Wild.
Yeah. And so for me, we were chatting a little bit beforehand. Like, this is where you grew up. So what your existential like crisis around you growing up here, my version of that was Lubbock, Texas. And so I needed to get out of there. And so for me, Salt Lake City was the place that rescued me from whatever was going on in my head in West Texas. I wanted to get out. I wanted to come up here. So I felt like I was breathing through a straw in West Texas. And then I come to Salt Lake City. West Texas is flat. There's mountains here. It was just the opposite of where I was. And I felt like all of a sudden I was breathing with my full lungs because there was just so much stuff I loved about Salt Lake City. So I'm deeply in love with it. It's 2002. I just after the Olympics. And we start, I get married a few years later. I've been married 21 years now. And everyone who was moving to Salt Lake was always treating it like it was a death sentence. They were coming here for middle management. They were, a promotion that brought them to Salt Lake. They're going to be here for 2 years. We'd meet them, and they would act like it was just the worst thing that ever happened to them. And I thought, you guys just don't see it. Like, this is a place that if you look at it correctly, and now we're talking 04, 06. If you look at it correctly, this place would be the most life-giving place I think you will ever live. Yep. If you didn't grow up here. Because if you grew up here, like you did, like you're looking at it through a different lens. But to me, this place just was gift after gift after gift of that kind of fed into my entrepreneurship here.
And that's where it was for me, like, because growing up, like, I grew up in the Avenues till I was like 10, then parents split, then I moved over to like East Bench, kind of over by East High. And it's wild now because I live in Marmalade District, so it's easy to get. I mean, City Creek, everything of kind of like foothills. And I'm running through there. I'm like, I never spent any time up here because it was like, oh, it's here, whatever. I'd rather go to my friend's house and play video games than go explore I mean, we would, but it wouldn't be like that vast. We'd like go in essentially in someone's backyard, just kind of keep going until it was time for dinner and then come back. And like, again, like driving even from here to St. George, I know the drive, whatever. Even when I went on my mission to Washington, like where I was in Eastern Washington, same climate as here. There's like mountains. And so I didn't feel like it was so like stark of a difference like a Lubbock, Texas would be. Yeah. But then it wasn't until I came back and like, that was a good experience. Went to Seattle for a while and that was kind of different in it. It made me appreciate how close things were in Salt Lake, but not as much. It was so much more of like almost like, I mean, that's kind of like where like my spiritual walls started to come down. I like that's where that experience happened. But it wasn't until I came back here, I was like, oh, wait, this is actually pretty cool. And I get why people do. Yeah. But then it wasn't until, I'll save you this, well, it's like essentially me and my partner at the time were living here downtown. It was end of 2021. We're like, do we want to buy a house? Do we even want to be here? Like, because moving back from Seattle, it was because of a job. So it wasn't really like my first choice. It was just like, makes sense to go back to Salt Lake. I need a job. Let's go there. And so then we're like, hey, we can both work remote. Should we just go like buy a van and go see if we can find somewhere? And long story short, I mean, 6 months, 36 states later, I was walking down the mall in DC. I was like, I'm very excited to go back to Salt Lake. Wow. Because it's clean. It's so accessible to everything. The airport's right there. People are nice. Like, it's just so, like, it's this, almost like this beacon to so many people that if you aren't from here, but if you are, then obviously you take it for granted and move on.
I'm preaching to the choir, but my spiel is always that Salt Lake deserves the branding that Denver gets.
Yes.
Denver is more like Omaha than Denver is like Denver, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So Denver's just a Midwest city. But all of the, like, globally, I lived in France for the last 2 years. People would ask me about Denver. I'd be like, man, I'm telling you, it's Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is everything that Denver, the team behind Denver's branding, they were so successful. We're the ones who actually have it. Like, the ability to work an urban job, to live downtown, have urban values if you so choose. and be on some of the best trails in the world in 10 minutes to run. It's unbelievable.
If you're trying to keep up with everything life throws at you, work, workouts, long runs, rounds of golf, whatever it might be, having your nutrition dialed matters. That's why I use Gnarly Nutrition, from supporting my recovery to fueling performance and helping me feel good no matter what I've got going on. And even better, they're located right here in Utah. Whether you're in the gym, on the trail, or just trying to get through your day, Gnarly has you covered. Check them out through the link in the description to see why they've become part of my daily routine. Like even when you look at it on a map from like bird's eye view and zoom in, you're like, oh, here's the Rockies. Denver just happens to be right here. And like, thankfully they can grow as much as they want to because they have all of this area. Whereas Salt Lake, it's like, well, you can go up a little bit, you can go down a little bit. But besides that, there's mountains and there's not much we can do from there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Portland's urban growth boundary a little bit, but Portland is much tighter. And I think that allowed for culture. And I know that Salt Lake, county inside the mountains that are kind of closed in, it's varied based off where you go. But in general, Salt Lake City with that sort of boundary up against the mountain, I think that's been to our benefit in terms of less sprawl. We're quite sprawled, but we're less sprawled.
Yeah, a little bit more density.
Yeah.
So 2002, I mean, what was your impetus for coming here? Was it just kind of getting out of Dodge and like this, I need to go explore the world, or was there an event?
Yeah, I mean, I was a musician in West Texas. I had graduated from high school in 2001, went to a bluegrass music school. So West Texas, rich music history. We had Buddy Holly, which most people know, but we also had Waylon Jennings, Roy Orbison from not far from there, the Dixie Chicks. Like it was a rich heritage of music coming out of West Texas, and so I was enjoying it. I was leaning into it, and I was doing the bluegrass music school stuff at South Plains College. But I just I don't know what it was, just needed to get out. Just really needed to get out. My parents had split up. It wasn't the same place. I was the baby of the family. My mom moved off to Brazil after they split up because she was, free. Yeah. So she just decided to go to Brazil. And I thought, nothing's keeping me here. I needed a change of scenery. I need the inverse to what I've grown up with. And so came here for spring break of 2002, essentially dropped out of college and just moved here and went back to college to the U 5 or 6 years later.
Cool. I always love those stories because I was a Lyft driver, one of the first ones in Salt Lake during college, because it was nice. I could focus on school at the week, and I was dating someone at the time, so I didn't need to have a huge social life, and I would just go work on weekends, and I'd work 2 nights and not have to work anymore. But it was wild to hear people's stories like that, and I'd be like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from South Carolina. Like, oh, what brought you here? Like, oh, I came for a wedding, and then
that was it.
Then I'm here. Yeah. And so it's fun to see those because once you get here, you appreciate it. But I mean, so I assume music is your life still at that point when you come here. I mean, are you touring and trying to make that work, or mostly local gigs?
It was a little bit varied. I was actually doing music at churches. So I started doing music when I moved up here, looking for a job, got an internship at a church in Draper, and I was doing music there. And then eventually went on staff at a different church in Draper called South Mountain Community Church, or SMCC, and was just doing music and working with high school kids, and pretty happy, get married. And my wife, so now we're in this position where it's I'm doing that stuff. Everyone who's coming and we're meeting, they're like, oh, I'm so sad. I hate that we got located in Salt Lake. And it became our mission to say, we're going to show you that this is the best place you'll ever live, to the point where we believe you'll be sad to leave. And so there was something starting to happen in the food scene at that time. Matt Caputo was starting to get motivated and to take over, to bring a new element to Caputo's. Yep. With his dad, Tony, was still driving the ship, but Matt was getting excited about the specialty food stuff. We saw that happening. There was a woman named Mary Maloof, who oddly enough had a deep connection to Lubbock, Texas. She was the editor of Salt Lake Magazine at the time. She passed around COVID in a really unfortunate circumstance. She's like a linchpin of what was happening at that time, Mary Maloof. She was a wonderful person. So you had Matt Caputo doing his thing, that happening. Then Scott Evans was gearing up. He was kind of working close to where we are now at Edison House, but he was gearing up to open Pago in 2009. You had Ryan Lauder getting ready to open Copper Onion in 2009, and there was just all this stuff happening. And so my wife, her whole thing was, we're just telling people. So she starts this website called the SLC Foodie in 2006, 2007, and it was just about showing off that, hey, this is a great place to be, and the food scene's emerging. And so we were promoting and helping all of these restaurants, and my wife, so I was playing music, but she was getting all of that notoriety. And my specialty, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, I just came alongside and was supporting her, and we were doing food events, and really great local chef Viet Pham was doing some exceptionally interesting stuff at the time. And so we were just kind of partnering with all these people and promoting. Our goal was just to promote. And we're doing that up through 2011. My wife wrote a book called Salt Lake City Chef's Table. My son was born, but we had to go to 60 restaurants in 60 days and write about all 60 restaurants, put it in a book. And so we knew the scene, and we were promoting it, and we were all the way fully committed and championing it and excited about it. Well, I started to get a little bit envious of the brands and the businesses that we were helping, that I wanted to start my own.
Yeah.
So I partnered with a guy named Levi and Tim and Sam, and we started La Barba Coffee. And so we started.
Wait, I had no idea you started La Barba.
Yeah, we started that in 2012, and that was a direct response to, hey, we're promoting all these people. We want to get in and start our own thing. So we started La Barba, and then we called it Charming Beard.
Okay. Yes.
So Levi, who had a beard.
What year was that? 2016?
2012.
Okay, it was earlier than that.
Levi was roasting coffee.
Oh, that's right. Because didn't you guys have a spot on campus?
We did.
Okay, yeah.
In
Okay.
the business school, yeah.
Because it was like before I drank coffee.
Okay.
And so I was like, anyway, I was a big Starbucks like peppermint mocha at Christmas time, but that was about it. But anyway, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Keep going.
This is fun. So the reason that we were in the business school, in the Spencer Fox Eccles Business School on the 5th floor, was because of Matt Caputo. They wanted Caputo's to go in there. Matt went and toured it. Didn't work. He called me and said, hey, I know you want to get into retail with La Barba, because at the time it was just wholesale. He said, here's a connection. And we took it, and it was a really great experience. So we had that location. Started really at the farmer's market doing wholesale. And so at the time I was doing music in a certain way. I was doing some work at a church, still doing music in a different way. And then I was starting La Barba, and then we're supporting what my wife was doing. And so I didn't go to business school, but I got a degree in strategic communications from the U. But I was just starting to discover, like, I love starting things. I love starting things. So we started La Barba, and that had taken off. We did the university location, and then we did one at the business school. We did the pharmacy school at the U, and then we opened inside Finca, right over close to here, when Finca used to be on.
The one in the second south?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. We had a location in there, and then we opened at the Gateway, and the Gateway was so good until COVID.
Oh,
I mean, it was so good. It's such a shame. But
it was so nice to have, like, there was this wave of life coming. It's like when Punch Bowl Social came in.
Good.
And then, like,
Yes.
Seabird came right there, and you're like,
yes.
It's so, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, oh, COVID's here, by the way, everybody's gone.
So.
Because I worked on the north end of there, so I would go to La Barba all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So I also started Seabird with my partner Asher Safink, who, if he was outgoing enough, he needs to be on this podcast.
That was my favorite cocktail, is the original
Really?
bee's knees you guys had there.
Yeah.
With the cherry.
Man,
Well,
this is so funny. We're going to have a lot of crossover here. Because I was so nostalgic, because that was I was so happy with what the moves that Gateway was making pre-COVID. And then when that closed, that was such a shame, when so much of the downtown, so much of the north end of the Gateway became just a real challenge. But so we opened. So I would get to the point where I would start things, and I would get them to a certain point, and I all of a sudden become a liability to my partnerships, because I want to keep growing, and it makes sense that others just want to say, hey, we've got all this growth, let's pause and let's get efficient with our operations, and let's capture some profit. We've been working for 6 or 7 years. So when we were getting that way with La Barba, it's like, okay, we've done all these things. We opened the La Barba in Draper, so we had all this stuff going, spinning a lot of plates. Well, they wanted to, I don't say plateau, but it's like, hey, pause.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep starting.
they wanted to breathe, and you're like, no, this is fun. It was exciting.
I was like, okay,
want to
no,
keep
I want to
going.
open. So we opened Creek Tea, which was a tea and bookstore downtown, or where the La Barba Tacos is now on
Got
9th,
it. Yeah.
9th South.
Right by Randy's Records.
That's right.
Heavy metal shop.
Yep. Yeah. So we opened that tea and bookstore, which I loved. Long story short, didn't work out. We closed it at COVID. But also then we opened 2 Seabirds, and we acquired Yoko Ramen, and then we opened Yoko Taco. So through the course of everything, I'd done 13 restaurant locations, coffee, food, or something like that, within the span of 7 years, 8 years. However, 5 of those came within 18 months of each other. And my job on all those was, and I had partners, so I don't want to act like I'm the guy, but I had really great partners. But my job was concepting, my job was branding, my job was finding the capital, building budgets, working with teams to design the stuff, and just get it open. So all this energy, and it was a very manic energy, and I just loved it. COVID comes along, food and beverage was really difficult. But we found
Especially when so much of that is like in person.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, I don't even know where to take that other than I can't believe that there are restaurants that were open before COVID and that are open after COVID. What a thing. And a lot of them are loaded up with this debt called EIDL. And if you're a business owner listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was the PPP loans that were forgiven, but there was the EIDL loans that were very attractive, extremely low interest rate. A lot of businesses took them, and that's created the challenge for all of those that existed. So in 2020, though, I sold my ownership in La Barba to Thomas Warmath, who's now in charge of La Barba. He's a phenomenal operator. He's actually reduced some of the total square footage of what it does, but I think it's a very sustainable business. Right before I sold, the last thing I did was concepted La Barba Coffee and breakfast tacos. But then I exited 2 weeks before it opened, and so Thomas was the one who kind of brought that into the world, and it's done an exceptional job. Then I exited the restaurant partnership in which is the two Yokos, the two Seabirds. But in order to open the Seabird in Draper, we had to lobby the Draper government, the city council, for 18 consecutive months of attending meetings so that we could get this license. We had the
like zoning license or like alcohol license?
Alcohol license. Okay. Draper had never had an alcohol license like the one we were requesting before. And so in the end, after hiring a lobbyist and working with Greg, was it Greg Hughes, former Speaker of the House? Mm-hmm. He came down and helped us. We had the mayor, closed our meetings with the mayor, all so that we could open a quite benign 800 square foot bar.
Yeah, because if you've been there, I love that space because it's like, so like, I love like small things let's call it like big things in small spaces.
Yeah.
Which is so La Barba.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me finish chewing. I got too excited. It was like with La Barba, sorry, not La Barba, Seabird. Like that's one thing I love about the one at Gateway. I'm like, listen, if you can get in there and it's just you and a buddy, greatest time in the world.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden you're picking all the records. Bartender's like, hey, let's have some fun with this.
Yeah.
Then once there's like 20 people in there, you're like, actually, I need to get out of here right now because this is not going to work. But like that's like kind of the same ethos of the Draper one. Because I remember I went on a date there once because she's like, oh, I'm in Draper. If you could come here. Actually, I'd suggest like, oh, let's go to Seabird at Gateway. Nice. She's like, well, could you come closer to Draper? I was like, actually, we can. We're still going to Seabird. But I mean, it's nice. Always such a fun place because I was at Gateway when the first one opened there, and like there was. It's kind of like small subset of the office because it was very LDS heavy where I was working. Yeah. And so we'd be like, all right, happy hour drinks. And so it'd just be like Seabird, like 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. And it would be so fun because, oh my gosh, I even ran into, what was his name, Matt, one of the first bartenders?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah,
Matt.
Gosh,
I haven't thought about him in forever, yeah.
Well, I was at for day job stuff, a vendor took us to like a good old wine and dine where we went to, what's the steak place at Gateway? The chain.
I know what you're talking about, right in that alley. I don't know if it's still an alley, but after the construction. But
yeah, anyway, there. And the bartender comes up, hands me a drink. He's like, I know you. I'm like, you used to work at Seabird. He's like, I did used to work at Seabird. I'm like, good to see you. And just like on with our day.
Onward.
But I love that like you have this kind of like go-to attitude of, especially when you get like pushed into this world where it actually reminds me the inverse of a friend of mine's story where you can see everything your wife's doing. She's building this blog. She then writes this book, and you're like, all of these restaurants are eating this up. But then I also get to see all of these amazing things that are happening, especially such a peak time of like the Scott Evans when Viet first started building Forage and like all of this time where like the first kind of push of Salt Lake really like cementing its place as really starting to have really good food and beverage. Because like one of my biggest pet peeves with people is if even today if they're like, well, Salt Lake doesn't have good food. I'm like, either you're the person who has to rain on everyone's parade and you think it's like this cool shtick to be the person who says everything's terrible and I know it's only these 3 places and it's because I like them and I can't really tell you why. Yeah. But so like that was kind of that first push, and now we have this next push where it's like, I mean, like Max and Noah at Central Ninth and everything that they're doing there, and like Mateo and everything that he's starting to build. Yeah. And so it's fun to see this kind of like next wave of generations starting to push that there. Yeah. But it reminded me of my friend because he was someone, or I guess he still does, but he would do social media and SEO for small restaurants. And so he would be working with like influencers because in the last like 6 or 7 years. Okay. And then after a while, he's like, wait a minute, I think I can do this. So then he did, and now he's like does both. So it's like, oh, right. I'll go help restaurants on social media, and then I'll turn around and be like, hey, by the way, I can do this monthly for you. Yeah,
I mean, the desire, once you're up close and personal with other people who've taken the risk, there's an element of it that just, for me, if I should say, if it's something that is for you and you're close to that risk, you want to take on the risk as well.
Yeah.
Or if you're not, you're closer, you're like, oh my God, I know for sure I don't ever want to take on risk of opening something or all that. But we were just so close to it. So I just wanted to open stuff. I just wanted to take the risk.
And there's something beautiful about that. Like once you get into the weeds of things and you're like, oh wait, if you can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like I know, like some of my most successful friends are some of the stupidest people I know. And then I look at them and I'm like, okay, if you can do this, I can do this. And the amount of times I say
It's actually quite frustrating when you see things like that up close and personal.
Yeah. But then it's wild because like there's so much of the fear of like, oh, you know how like X% of businesses fail or like blah, 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 blah. And you're like, becomes this like barrier.
Yeah.
But then once you can kind of start this flywheel of like, oh, I did something and it worked. Like it could be the most innocuous thing of like, I started a web, like, I don't know, something stupid is like, if you're getting into running, I went to like Salt Lake Running Company, just to even look at shoes. Like I did something.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it's like this starts to build of like, oh, I can do things. Oh, I do know how to get like a business set up. Oh, I do know how to get like a space and like know how to negotiate leases. I do know how to build out. I do know how to create a menu. I do know how to hire. Next thing you know,
you're
like,
you're all in.
You're like, oh, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And then you become this like bullet train where you're like, let's keep going. And everyone's
going.
like,
More.
We've been doing this. I just
Yeah.
want to pause and have a normal life for a minute. And you're like, no, we're going to keep going.
Yeah. I will say, just to get a shout out, so that after I left that restaurant partnership, they went on to open what I think is the coolest bar in Salt Lake right now called Mono. Have you
Mono Tape Club?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That's Asher. That's what I think Asher.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I know Asher.
Yes. So one of my oldest and best friends in Salt Lake, but we concepted Seabird around Asher. His last name is Seyfink. It's Dutch.
Just makes so much sense.
Dutch
now.
South African, but he's a real audiophile, and so we built it a lot around him. Seabird, Seyfink. Like there was like a connection in the name, even like so that would like vinyl, all that sort of stuff. And so we concepted it, but what Mono ended up becoming was like what feels like the ultimate expression of his personality in terms, and it's a really beautiful, it's a really stunning spot. It's a listening room. It's like, don't go planning to be loud.
Yeah.
It's really great drinks, really dark, really vibey, and incredible. If you're an audiophile, it's a dream come true.
And even if you're not, like, at least go experience it.
Yeah.
Because I got turned on to them because I was going, oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy used to have coffee in his apartment. Oh,
Joel?
Yes, Joel the coffee guy.
Yeah.
So
That's so funny.
So I reach out to him because I'd seen like all the TikToks of it. I was like, hey, like I was trying to book a time on your website, but it's all booked up. Just curious if I could make it happen. He's like, well, if you can come Saturday at like 11, that works. I'm like, cool, I'll be there. And so I go meet him, and we're sitting there talking. He's like, oh, by the way, this is like the last weekend. I'm packing up shop and gonna go leave. I'm like, cool, perfect timing.
Yeah.
And I was like, so where do you get coffee? He's like, oh, Mother, he said Mother specifically, but then he's like, but there's this place coming.
Yeah.
It's about to open.
Yeah.
And just to like test it, anytime I go get coffee, I'm like, hey, like what are you excited about in coffee? And every single person, Mono Tape Club, Mono Tape Club, Mono Tape Club.
I love it.
And so I live pretty close to there, so it's nice. And like, I love any place, and Mother's similar, where it's like, hey, we're still a bar even though we have coffee, so you can't have kids here. I'm like,
yeah.
Nice. But like with them, like even when they announced it, I was like DMing them being like, hey, I've heard so many good things. I'm so excited for this, which was Asher.
Yep.
And then I've gone a lot, but one of the most recent times, because I didn't know Asher's face, was like, hey, my name's Asher. I've known you've been messaging. Thanks for making it real about us. Like, well, I'm like, no, thank you for doing this. But now that you mention it, that makes so much sense of the connection from Seabird to there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I love seeing it all go on. Like, even though I've left those partnerships, just it's so cool to have been a part of them. And so I moved out of that. Asher and I did a few other businesses that weren't like retail focused. And then after those, I was just sort of in this spot of trying to figure out what was next. What do I want to do next? All the food and beverage was passion. And Asher and I did some private equity stuff together. And that stuff was not passion. But I wanted to go back into a passion thing, having money and not bootstrapping. I mean, Charming Beard that later became La Barba Coffee was bootstrapped to the max. And so then that's how I ended up getting into trail running. Long way through that was I did an entrepreneurship residency in Paris with an organization called Antler. And through that, just like looking at these puzzle pieces, trying to figure out, okay, how does all this fit together? What do I want to do? What am I uniquely skilled at this point? But outside of food and beverage, and I had done a lot of financial consulting, small business finance consulting, all this sort of stuff. And from this just emerges like I knew I wanted to be in trail running in one way or another. And so then all of that led to where I am more or less now, which is playing in the trail running space.
Well, it's such a wild way. It's almost like I don't want to compare it to like an ayahuasca trip, but it's like, hey, I need to go to Paris so I can be in the wilderness and go like find myself.
Right.
But it's such like, I mean, what of all the different ways you could like quote go find yourself, why was that the one that like intrigued you the most?
So my wife and I, we love to travel. It's how we connect the most with each other. We have 3 kids ranging in age from 6 to 13, and we have a high need for adventure. There's a personality test called Berkman, and it measures a lot of different things. One of the things that it is for my need for change. I have on a scale of 1 to 99, my need for change is 99, and I'm not exaggerating. So and my wife's is like 94. So we really connect on change. We love to change, much to our kids' chagrin. They're going to go to different schools all the time. But when we just wanted to live in Paris, so I did that residency for 3 months, come back, really start building Borderlands. I'm doing consulting.
So before that, you weren't like running, like were you already running ultras or running stuff?
Yeah, so I had fallen in love
and
with
before
running.
that, do you want more water?
I know, I'm good.
Okay, cool.
I'm good. Speaking
So
of running,
wait. So talk to me about that, because like I'm always curious of how people get in, because like it's one thing to be like, hey, I don't want to get fat. I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna go do this. Need some exercise, mental health, blah blah blah. But to be like, I want to do this like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, so talk to me about how like that started.
Yeah. So with carrying all the weight of all the entrepreneurial risk, there had to be a way to offload that. And you only have a few options. I only had a few options. I could either consume too much alcohol, or I could go run. And if you go the route of alcohol, you can turn down the buzz of the intensity that comes with the way I was doing opening businesses and the risk and weight that I was carrying. You can turn down the buzz with alcohol, but you don't process it. With running, I can turn down the buzz of the intensity that I was carrying and process it. Does that make sense? So running was a healthy way of processing all the stuff that I would go through every day. So I only run during the weeks. I would only run between 4 and 5:30 in the afternoon, the hottest part of the day in the summer. And but it was how I would transition from work to home. Otherwise, I was going to be an awful dad when I got home, awful husband when I got home. I needed to transition, and I just needed to process. I'm a processor. So I have all this information in my head, and I need to file it away, put it in files that I could retrieve the next day. And the way that I could go do that is by going to run for a little while. Well, I have this friend, Jeremy Cox. He ended up passing a DVD to me called, way back when, maybe 13, called Unbreakable. Those who know in the ultra running world know that is a really special documentary documenting, I think, the 2010 running of a really iconic race called Western States. And it was 4 really interesting people, really iconic people, and a really well-told story. During the intro of that documentary, to that point, I had never run further than maybe I'd run a marathon at that point on the road. In the intro of that, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to run 100 miles. I'm going to go for it. And so I get sucked in, I get pulled in. So I've got this, it's useful to me in a way of processing and making me a better person when I get home after work. But then also, now we're back to this, I've got this burning in my stomach all the time to do more and this ambition to keep going. Well, now I can pour that into running as far as I possibly can. Well, I get into it, and I'm just really bad at it. I'm really bad at mentally, I'm just garbage. So I started to, where the angle that I started to find for Borderlands was, I am literally the worst 100-miler in the country. I don't think there is a close second. Of the 10 that I've tried, I've only finished 2. So now it's 20%. However, before that, I was 1 for 9. So I finished my last one in 2024. But before that, I DNF'd, which means did not finish. I did not finish 8 of 9 attempts. But I just loved it so much, and I kept coming back to it. Well, as I look at the landscape of trail running, I was thinking, no one celebrates that person. Back then, this is 21 when I started to really think through it. No one's really celebrating that person who sucks at this sport but keeps coming back. Why would someone suck so bad at a sport and keep coming back? And so it was sort of became this deep dive of drilling into trail running, ultra trail running specifically, and said, what are the gifts of ultra trail running that have nothing to do with performance? And the further I got, I realized, there's 2 sports happening out there. There's an elite version where people are trying to run fast. There's the Jesse Riches of the world who are incredible and fast. and getting faster and getting better and optimizing nutrition more and more. And then there's just these garbage runners like me out there who are eating, are eating pizza or drinking a beer at an aid station. Like there's just these two different things. And so much of the media was all about celebrating those great runners. And I'm a fan of that media. I pay close attention to that media. Another Salt Lake person, Finn Melanson, does single track. He does a great job focusing on the professional version. I am the target audience of that. However, there is, I think, more people interested in in looking at the running through the lens of the people who aren't great. Mm-hmm. And so that was what I wanted to start to build. And so I had this mantra that I built it off of called DFL Before DNF. I would rather finish dead last than quit. And that was the mantra, and it came from my friend Jeremy Cox, who ran the Buffalo 100 in 2019. And he missed the final cutoff by like 2.5 hours, meaning the cutoff was 32 hours for that 100-miler. He came in 34. He technically at some point was out there without, the race was over. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm going to keep going. Like I didn't come here to finish the Buffalo 100.
Yeah, I'll tell you when I'm done. You don't get to tell
exactly
me when I'm done.
He said, I came here to run 100 miles today. It just so happens that there was this race that was helping me with these aid stations and all this. And so he finishes in 34.5 hours or so. The race director was still there. The finish line was torn down. And so the central question to Borderlands was, how do you keep going when the finish line is torn down? A little emotional too. It's a central question of life for me. And I feel like ultra running ended up becoming this thing of how do you, in anything, how do you keep going when you want to quit? And as I started building media around that central idea of how do you keep going when you want to quit, ultra running became the thing that gives you that gift to help you find your limit. And then once you find your limit, you can start doing the hard work of figuring out how to get past your limits. And it's in a relatively safe way of doing it of, okay, I ran a 5K, now I can run a 10K. All right, now I can run a half marathon. And there's just this disease that makes you want to keep going further and further, and you realize that you can do it. And as you realize that you can do it, it just opens up everything for you outside of running.
Well, it's wild hearing like your personality and knowing like what you've done of like, oh, hey, like I kind of always need some sort of widget to work on and make better and like grow and do.
Yeah.
Also, you have this strong need for adventure.
Yeah.
And also I'm very similar to you where like I need white space in my life to again, like file things away, process things, make sure it's not just a thought that's keep like ruminating in my head, but give it the attention to finally like close the book on it.
That's it.
And like, and running for me is the same way. Like running for me, a different thing, but again, it's different for everybody. And that's what like a lot of what Borderlands is. It's like whether they just found your podcast and they're like, cool, I just started running and I did a 5K and I don't know where to go from here. And so like, what does that look like of those next steps? Because there's so much of, again, like talking about that elite running of what everybody sees and they watch UTMB and they see who wins and they see who wins Western States. And it's like this very glorified version, which is great. But there's also so much to learn in it all of like, oh, I'm going to fail as many times as possible until I can succeed. And then going back even to that flywheel I was talking about of like, oh, someone got a taste of like, oh, I finally got off the couch. And instead of drinking a beer when I was pissed off, I went and ran a mile. And then I signed up for my neighborhood 5K on Thanksgiving and I like did it. And then it's like, oh, wait, I did this and I signed up for that. And then it's like, I have this itch that I want to scratch and it pushes me to be a better person, but then also keeps me sane at the same time but also like ultra runners are some of the most insane people in the world.
Absolutely.
But then also like even more so like, and it comes up in ultra running as you know very well when you're running 100 miles, it's not like people get to the finish line like, oh, that was good. Like, that was nice. Like, I mean, people run marathons like, okay, like that was long, but like I can go do stuff, but like you're broken at the end. And so much of it is like, oh, I need to ignore that my hip flexor is screaming at me or my calf is giving up and I just have to keep going.
And so these, I mean, and we can have a running conversation about that. And then we can have a live conversation about that is, how do you then dissect in real time the stuff that should absolutely force you to quit and how do you know when you can keep going? And I think on one end you think, okay, if my knees hurt, it's just running. Okay, my knee's hurting, let's not do it. But however, you're in the moment. You've given 9 months of your life to training for this. and this has meant so much to you that you've been disciplined in your training, and then you're in the moment of the race. Let's say you traveled to Moab. They have incredible races down in Moab. Let's say I put on a race in the Salt Lake Foothills called the Salt Lake Foothills Trail Races. We have people that came from like 20 states for our last one. You came all the way. You don't want to quit. Like, it's the last thing you want to do is quit. And so you have to dissect in real time, is this injury going to take me out? Is it not? And then if you learn how to triage what can stop you and what you can push through, the lessons that takes for me, into fatherhood, into being a husband, or doing this crazy journey with my family of 5 through Paris for the last 2 years before just moving back here. Like, it applies to everything. Like, it can flow into everything. So it can be purely just a beautiful discussion about running, which is worthwhile. But it can also be something about, what does running give you? What does running give your life? What is it? How does it help you believe in yourself more? And that to me is why people become so psychotically obsessed with it, because all of a sudden it's just pouring out gifts to you.
Yeah. So you go to Paris and you're like, okay, I have these 3 months. You're like, I want to essentially like give myself to this.
Yeah.
You have this idea for Borderlands, kick it off. I mean, talk to me between that period and then being like, hey, honey, by the way, we're going to France.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so those who've been with me from the beginning, and there are a handful, know that it's been a windy path. In entrepreneurship in general, I had the luxury of teaching an entrepreneurship course at the University of Utah, 5,000 level course with a really great professor named Heidi Herrick. She's one of the best, I think, teaching professors there. So I dissect entrepreneurship quite a bit. I think about it a lot. And so one of the things that you can't do early on for an entrepreneur like me is get married to you get married to your mission, but you can't get married to the expression of that mission. And so my mission was to be the heart of trail running. A lot of people are focused on being the performance of trail running and trumpeting the performance of it. And I'm looking for the heart of it. And every story I tell, I'm looking for the heart of it. It's weaved through a lot of different things before I finally landed on the thing that worked the most. So I had done like a beer mile at the Gateway, and I was doing events, and I didn't really get into podcasting with it, which is now like the flagship of all that I do with Borderlands. I didn't get into that until about just over 2 years ago. So I do the residency. I'm looking at opportunities to build apps and stuff like that within trail running. So I leave Paris. We come back here for a year and a half, sell the restaurant partnerships, and that opened us up. If we don't have anything holding us here, what are we going to go do? Well, France is the trail running capital of the world, and UTMB, like you mentioned there, it's a really cool race that you go around. You go through 3 countries, and you go around Mont Blanc down in Chamonix. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go there, but I'm not going to go to mountain country. I'm going to be up in the flatlands of Paris, the marshlands, and great running up there. More than it being in France, though, it was about being in a place where I didn't know anybody and I could kind of work a lot. And we wanted our kids to learn French. So for my wife, it was like she's been waiting for the chance to live overseas. Like she's been
bags are already packed.
Yeah,
She's like,
so
cool.
I was like, okay, I think we can move to Paris. And before I'm done, yes, she's bought the plane tickets. So if anything, we've been back for only 2 weeks now. For anything, we used to have whiplash from it because we just loved it so much. For me, I could put my head down. I'm such a head down builder. I would put my head down and build the media organization while I had my race organization partners here, my operating partners here in Salt Lake. I could just build vision, and I could keep refining. So I spent 2 years whittling this thing into trying to make money off of it.
And it's nice to have like space away from, again, like the parallel to entrepreneurship is like, I took away all distractions, everything, and it's just me and my family in this place I don't know. They're learning French, and I just need to like pour myself into this.
Yeah. And it was, if anything, it's harder to be. What's hard to be back now is that I've lived here for 22 years, so I know people. If I office out of a coffee shop, which I most enjoy to do, I'll see a lot of people I know, and so I'm less efficient when I'm here in terms of vision, building, whittling down, refining, getting the thing to where it needs to be in order for it to monetize the way that it needs to be. We would always go to Europe when I would take 4 months off from La Barba, and we'd go live in Europe. And that's where I would do business planning for the next 18 months or for the next 3 years. And I would build those business plans. If I was raising capital, That's just how we would do it. Again, because that's how my wife and I connect the most. We've always taken the most financial risk and sort of depleted any retirement accounts and sort of stuff like that, so we could go do that. But so these last 2 years have just been about refining and trying to find, just like constantly pounding into walls, while also I needed to make money off of this thing
Yes.
so that we could live, not just be in Paris, but we could actually live in Paris. So now I feel like I'm coming back to Salt Lake with the thing kind of ready to go. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm around all these people that I know, and we've mentioned Jesse Rich and then Sam Losey, shout out Active Cultures, running store, pop-up store there.
Well, actually, funny story about Sam Losey and the Foothill Half, which I totally forgot about this story until right now.
He won it.
Well, I was going to get there, but so girlfriend, we just started dating, and like one of our first dates was like running 5 miles up City Creek and back while she's training for this Foothills Half Marathon.
Oh.
And so I'm like, and again, like my running relationship is like, I'm in it. I just booked 5 races this year. This is my personality. And then like, I don't want to run a single mile this year. Yeah. And so she's pulling me into running. I'm like, yeah, like I don't mind. Like it's probably time. And so she's like, hey, I have this race. Could you drop me off at the start up above the Capitol? And then it's going to end over by the zoo. And I love running BSC. So like, yeah, of course. I know that area very well. See you there. Yeah. So I'm at the finish line. She finishes, give her a hug. I have coffee for her. And I'm like, here you go. And then I see Sam. I'm like, oh, Sam, what up, dude? How's it going? I haven't seen you in a minute. He's like, oh, good. I'm like, oh, did you do the full? Did you do the half? He's like, oh, I did the half. I'm like, oh, how did it go? He's like, one. And I'm just like, okay. Like,
all right, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know when you'll release this, but he's running Speed Goat this weekend. Like Speed Goat's the big, like the most, I would say, well-known internationally. There's some debate around that because there's some Wasatch in the Bay Area. There's some really iconic stuff happening here. But yeah, he's getting ready to run that. Like there's just
Speed Goat's the one at Snowbird.
Yes. Yeah, at Snowbird, started by Carl Meltzler, whose nickname is Speed Goat, who also is the namesake of like the super iconic, one of the top-selling trail running shoes in history, the Hoka Speed Goat. So Salt Lake. So if France is the trail running capital of the world, to me, Salt Lake City should be the trail running capital of North America. Easy. There is no close second.
Before we go there, because I know like this is one that Jesse opened me up a lot too, and I'm like curious to get your take on it too, as well as someone who like lives and breathes like the heart of it, which is like actually even side tangent from that. Like I love that. Like one thing I think that's been lost a lot in like all of these huge sponsorships of like these huge races is like the core community of like, we're just going to go run a lot and it's going to suck, but we're going to go do it together. Of like those races where it's just like a table at the finish line and like just a guy with like some cap gun that he just bought at the store that day before. Like, and that's like so much more of the heart than like 1,000 people in Chamonix, like cheering people in. And so like, that's such an amazing feat of all of this. But talk to me about, so you're there for 2 years in Paris. And I'm curious of like, and it could be a little bit of both, but like your impetus for coming back, is it mostly like, oh, I'm done. I know what I need to do. Now time to go execute and it's just not going to be here? Or did you feel like what you needed to do needed to be done here?
Yeah. I mean, it was so hard. It was so hard to come back. We knew that if we had stayed for year 3, we would have stayed through year 20. And while being back now for 2 weeks, we're like, oh, maybe we should. Like, it's just, we're just, we're trying to adjust. We're very happy to be here. But it was where I got Borderlands 2, all of a sudden now where it was at in the last 6 months, it was like, okay, in order to get this thing to where it needs to be, I just need to be back in America. Because the podcast is in, 70 countries, but 60% of the listeners are in America. And a lot of what I talk about is American culture of running, and a lot of that culture was born in the American West. We have a West Coast bias in trail running media, of course, but a lot of it was just here, so I can be closer. So, for example, I was telling you earlier, I went to Ohio on Monday to spend a day with, I think, one of the coolest, most iconic runners in the world, Harvey Lewis, who going to release a 2-part podcast with him coming up. He's, the champion of backyard model of ultra running, which people who know that that's pretty cool.
It's essentially you just go somewhere and it's like, hey, we're just going to keep doing laps.
We're going to keep doing laps until there's one person left. Yeah. Harvey holds the world record. He told me the exact number. I'm going to get it wrong. It's almost 500 miles.
Ugh.
Yeah. Crazy. And so I had, so it's just, I can go be with people, and there's not a lot of podcasting in the trail running world that's in person. And so I have a good friend, Paul Meller, who says, if you're an underdog, if you're smaller, you need to do things that you're competitors can't, won't, or dare not do. And so what I try to do a lot of stuff that my competitors can't, won't, or dare not do. And one of them is I'm going to travel, I'm going to budget, I'm going to allocate resources to go be with these icons in person where they live, travel to them. I'm not going to, Rich Roll has them come to him. I want to be the guy that goes and, comes to your house, spends time in your element with you. And so I did that with...
Which also satisfy your like adventure element of life.
You got it. So I get to go and I get to do that stuff. I did that with another guy, another icon, Laz Lake. He's the one who did Barclays Marathon. He's the architect. He's one of the most interesting people in all of trail running. I went and spent a day at his house. That's while I was living in Paris. I flew from Paris to Nashville, went to his house, back to Nashville, back to Paris, all within 48 hours, 50 hours, because that they're willing to let me come to there. I'm going to just, whatever, I'm coming. Yeah. I'm going to come and do it. And so now being back here, I can, as I've whittled Borderlands into the thing that I think will go where I want it to go, I just need to be close. I want to be close because I love this community so much, but also from a business standpoint, it's just time to be close. And so 2 years in, all 3 kids fluent in French. Speaking of Jesse Rich, his wife is going to be my daughter's teacher.
Oh no way! Yeah, she's French.
She's French. She's from Marseille. So it's just time to be back. And it was equally as sad to leave as we are happy to be back. It was hard to go. So good to be back.
It's nice. You can always go back. I mean, that's nice because it's one of the meccas of trail running. You'll be back.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's one of those farewell forever. It's like, oh, we'll maybe go every other.
Totally. And actually, I got to go to Chamonix. I get to go to Chamonix next month.
I'm so sorry.
UTMB.
That's so tough.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that again, because like Salt Lake City trail running, like help me understand, and anybody who's listening, of like whether it be the races that happen here, the people that are here, the culture, what makes Salt Lake becoming this like epicenter of trail running, especially like ultra trail running? Okay.
I love this question. So there's so many parts. If you think about everything that makes for an iconic trail running community, it has every bit of it, and plus one extra thing. So unbelievable trail systems. Let's just talk about Salt Lake City. You could zoom out and it's just beautiful running from the north to the south, east to the west. Everywhere is just stunning here. If you just look at Salt Lake City, the thing I mentioned earlier, quick access to trails. Salt Lake City has invested a ton of money into these foothills, and the trail system is incredible. And they have done a great job of separating mountain bikes from running and walkers, so that way the mountain bikers can enjoy it. We used to have to share it and got pretty difficult.
Oh, so annoying.
They've done an awesome job. Shout out to Tyler Fonero, who's I think he's been the head of it. I apologize if I'm missing a different name, but he's who we've worked with most on our race. So you have incredible trail system. So that's obviously the foundation. And then if you want 8,000 feet of vert every day, you can live in Draper, you can live in Salt Lake City, you can live almost anywhere, and you can get huge days every single day, 10 minutes from your front door. So that alone is where my joke about Denver. Like from Denver, you can go on a really great run on a flat space. Here, out of your door, very quickly on a world-class trail. So because we have all of that, because that exists, it has just slowly become more and more attractive to. We have a ton of just everyday runners who are not going to be pro, and this dates back to Wasatch 100. Started, I think 1979, but predating that was Bear Gutsman race, which is just an absurdly difficult race. I think they're both start up in Kaysville. I think this is true. We had the Bear 100, super iconic race. I don't remember exactly how old that is off the top of my head.
Where's that one?
I want to say started in 1999. That is on the border of Idaho and Utah, up in Logan, just passed up there. I think 1999. So we've got all these just incredible races. So you have the trails, and then you have something that Utah is uniquely good at, which is entrepreneurship. And so you have all of these entrepreneurs who have put together races. So you have everything that's happening out on Antelope Island, and you had that race director who built a lot of really great races. You have it used to be Snow Peak 50 in Utah County, and that also is Kachina Mosa, and you have that race director John something, who's built really incredible races. And then you have Wasatch, among the most important races, in my opinion, in North America, started in Kaysville in 1979. And then you have Speed Goat, Carl, starting his race up in the mountain. And now you have younger race directors, like myself, younger or newer, I should say, maybe not younger. Finn Melanson, who's starting races, who I mentioned earlier. He's got races up in Park City. You got Salt Lake Running Company, who's starting races. And then if you keep going south, you have Mad Moose, unbelievable. And then you have my favorite races, Ultra Adventures, down in on the Escalante Staircase. They have Bryce, Zion in Antelope Canyon into northern Arizona. You have unbelievable ultras in St. George. And so now you have all of these runners because you have these incredible trails. Then you have all these entrepreneurs who are starting really great races. So you have infrastructure. And now all of a sudden, in the running boom, the most recent running boom, the COVID running boom, brands, everyone has been investing, so contracts are getting better. You have professional runners who are making more money, enough money to where they may be able to even relocate to a place where they can be around other great runners.
Yeah. Or even if you are a runner, because a lot of professional trail runners still have a day job.
Yes.
And even if I'm a professional trail runner where I'm like, oh, in a perfect world, I could live 10 minutes from a trail. But because I work in, let's say, finance, I have to be in New York or I have to be in this place where now it's like, oh, contraire, I can work remote. So now instead of being in my office in Boston or in whatever that could be, now I get to be right in Cottonwood Heights. And as soon as I'm done with my day, I'm already lacing up my shoes, getting in my car so I can
going
go
on to some of the best trails in the world.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like a trail, it's some of the best in the world. Now the thing so you have all this obvious stuff, I would say obvious, but all this stuff that makes sense. The thing that makes Salt Lake uniquely better is it also has room for the people who aren't working remote, who do want a corporate job, who work for Goldman Sachs, make $250 a year, $350 a year, or whatever. You will be hard pressed to find another city in the world where you could have this urban life that is also you are also a dirtbag trail runner. And I think that so much is what shaped me. Not that I'm this Goldman Sachs guy, but I'm just saying I have urban value. I lived in Paris. Yeah. I have urban values. I ran on road every day for 2 years. I ran along the Seine and every day for 2 years, but I still called myself a trail runner. I was still building trail running media. So what this comes back to is that the identity of trail running is less about running on trail, if I'm honest, and more about your identity. I'm carrying this identity of being a trail runner. Yeah. And Salt Lake City gives all of that stuff exponentially better than I think almost any other city. If you're a great runner, if you're a pro runner, you might move to Boulder, you might move to Flagstaff. There's a handful of other really great markets, but we have so many great pro trail runners living in Salt Lake right now. It is unbelievable. And they just seem to keep coming. So if you think of incredible everyday runners, race infrastructure, running entrepreneurs, you got Solomon, based out of Annecy, France, but their American headquarters is here. There's lots of huge brands whose outdoor running brands whose headquarters is Salt Lake. It's just the intersection of every single component, every single piece of the industry has a presence in Salt Lake City, and including that urban value, which is so unique. So that's why I think it should be the trail running capital of North America.
If that were a presidential speech, I'd vote for it. and it's so fun too, because even again, using this new running community that I've been exposed to via my partner, it's fun to see too how it's even if someone moves here from Omaha, Nebraska, and they're like, I've ran in track in high school or did something, and well, there's these mountains, I want to explore them, I want to do this, then they catch the bug, but then they also have this the community side of it, of meeting people and being able to have that social connection and then have a mechanism to power that is also so amazing. And then, it's so fun to see. And especially if you're not in it, it's hard to actually see all of the bones that you just described. But then once you see it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And if I'm to be at elevation, to have all of the climb, to have all of the trails where literally you could say, I'm going to pick one canyon for 2 months and I would not get sick of it.
Yes.
And then it's okay, cool. We're going to do a little Cottonwood this time. We're going to do big. Then we're going to go up Immigration. Then we're just going to go up Park City. And we're going to only do a specific segment of Park City. And then we're going to go down to Timpanogos. And then the list goes on and on and on and on.
Unbelievable. And so even just by way of example, went and visited Harvey Lewis. He was just south of Columbus. And then we drove to, I think it's called Hocking Hills, to go for a run. So from his house to there, we drove just over 30 minutes. Well, if you've got young kids and you're married and you want to be a present partner and you want to be a present father and you want to be an ultra runner, you can't also have drive times. You know what I mean? So if you can kill those drive times, so if it takes 30 minutes to get to the trail or an hour to get to the trail, and then you need to put in an hour run, then you have an hour home, you're gone 3 hours for only an hour run, which if an ultra runner, that hour run is almost rarely, if ever, worth your time, even if you're trying to, get fit for a 100-miler. So here, from my house to the zoo, which is the primary trailhead for me.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite BS.
Right across the street.
I just live right up.
Really?
Same. Yeah.
So I've ran that 1,000 times. I'm not a super fast runner. However, Hayden Hawks, a handful of other guys who've run the final downhill. That's the only segment on Strava when I used to be on Strava. That was the only one I tried to own. I could never quite get past this guy Pete Stoughton, but I was obsessed with it. It had to have been easily 1,000 times. That's the only thing I had time to get to, and it'd be about an 8-minute drive from my front door to a 6-mile run that would give me 1,800 feet of gain, and then I have an 8-minute drive home. That's just. I feel like Salt Lake. Ultra running is never conducive to being a great partner and never conducive to being a great father in terms of if the highest value is time spent together.
Yep.
However, being in Salt Lake gives you a better chance of juggling those two things.
It gives you the variables that you can control. You can control those because you're still going to need to go run for 3 hours.
Yeah,
that's table stakes.
Part of the game.
But that hour drive in, hour drive back, you can crush a lot of podcasts and audiobooks.
That's
but
right.
you also might be crushing your marriage.
Right. Yeah. Or there's so much about the sport that feels selfish, and some people deal with those things in different ways. But you're exactly right. Like if the more that you can, at least from my own mind, the more that I feel like I'm being responsible with those things in a somewhat irresponsible sport, the better I feel.
Well, even same energy, but not trail running. Like I used to have to work in Lehigh and I would hate to drive there. Cause again, 30 minutes in my car, 30 minutes back, I'd rather be doing anything than sitting on I-15 for an hour. Yeah. But then I had this epiphany because I was living downtown, literally right across the street from a Front Runner station. I was like, wait a minute, I can hop on Front Runner. They have Wi-Fi. I can work, buy an electric scooter. It's a 5-minute scooter ride from the Front Runner station to the office. Yeah. And then same thing back. So instead of having 30 minutes of dead time, it's 10 minutes, and it's being able to gamify that, and because I want my time back. I don't want to give my time to someone for no reason. Time is the only thing that we have, right. And so being able to have that, not as impressive, but it works for some people.
But it's the same principle.
Yeah, same principle. Because now that I remember the Foothill Trail half, there was a whole other competition for who could run that last little bit.
Good memory. Yeah, we had the Salt Lake. We called it the Michael Bolton Final Mile.
Okay. Yeah.
And the idea was it doesn't matter. I mean, it was a way of trying to be lighthearted. Again, back to lighthearted. There's serious competition out there. No matter what, it's all hard. But maybe we could get a laugh. And me and my friends Joey and Jared, who put the race on, laughed harder than anybody else ever did about it. But Michael Bolton Final Mile was we would line the final mile with Michael Bolton flags. And the second you see Michael Bolton's face, we would have a timing thing in place, and now who could run that final mile the fastest? That's who won the race. That was the joke. You can run the whole thing, the whole 50K or the whole half, you could run it really slow. But whoever runs the final mile, the Michael Bolton Final Mile the fastest, they are the true winners. And people, it's just fun to see people. It got everyone in that final mile coming in, even if they had the day that they didn't want out there, it was slower than they wanted, whatever. They just kind of hauled in, and it was fun.
Michael Bolton, time to shine.
Yeah.
Amazing. So now that you're back in Salt Lake, you spent your time in Paris really refining of what you see this all being. Yeah. I mean, talk to me about what it is now that you're executing on. Because you talked about, doing the things that no one dares to do, no one wants to do, or the other thing I can't remember.
Can't, won't, or dare not.
There we go. Yeah. You've talked about going to people and meeting them where they are, in Ohio, and really being in their turf and recording and creating that content around it. But what is Borderlands now, and what do you see it going from here on out?
Well, the reach, the numbers, and all of that of the media portion, it all kind of goes through Borderlands.cc, the website, and it kind of fans out from there. And right now, like all of the production and all of that hasn't totally matched where the numbers have gotten to. And so I have a space in the back of the La Barba warehouse that is going to become a permanent studio. And I'm just trying to elevate the visuals of all of it. But what it is essentially goes through borderlands.cc. It's the podcast. And what gets the most reach is when I talk about tension within trail running, and I offer thoughtful way of analyzing what's happening within trail running. So for example, where the race, one of the most popular podcasts I had was the race, the local trail race is where culture is taught. It's where it's learned. But with growth of things like UTMB or another race organization or VIPA, there's a threat that we're going to lose the thing that makes this so beautiful. And I'm not necessarily pointing fingers or saying that it's UTMB's fault. It's just a breaking down of that thing. So I feel like working through episodes like that is a big piece in a way that where the production reflects the reach at this point. And then just a lot of in-person stuff with the podcast. But also, like a lot of the brands that I work with, funny enough, like I work with the North American version of them. And so all my contacts are the North American. Living in Europe, I can't even get the product over there most of the time without it being really, really difficult. So I do a lot of brand work. I do a lot of consulting with brands who are trying to come to the United States of America, running brands that are coming to USA. And now that I'm here, I can actually finally get the product to help do some of that consulting. So I leverage the authority from Borderlands of all of the media that I do into consulting opportunities. And so that's how I monetize. I try not to directly monetize from my crowd, asking my audience for money for certain things like Patreon or anything like that. So being here allows me better access to the brands, allows me better access to the people that are most interesting to do in-person podcasts with. So just putting my foot down on those things. And I have a lot of writing going. I have a lot of writers that are writing for me for the website and all of that. And all of it comes back to this piece of trying to be the heart of trail running.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, and that's what it needs. And I like that you talked about that because I listened to it's like that 20-minute episode you did of like, what is Borderlands now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And because again, like if people don't just move back from Paris after moving there for no reason, unless they had a vision or like had things that they wanted to accomplish, but it's also fun when like any white guy in their 30s can start a podcast.
I saw you
but
say
like,
something about that.
but like, it's also fun once you get there of like, oh, like there's so much more that you can do. Like even with Small Lake City, like it started as a podcast, but then I was like, oh, like I hate seeing on people's stories that they did something I didn't know about. So I started a newsletter of like, here's what's coming up in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. Then I was like, oh, I should probably make a website. So I do that. And then, I mean, then I start my Discord. And then even this week, I took the newsletter to the next level where it was like, oh, I have a newsletter, but even me, I'm like, I didn't even like remember what I put in there. What is it? So I'm like, I can just start a Google Calendar and just share with people like, here it all is. Yeah. You can see it all right there. Oh, and so it's fun, like, because I'm like you, where it's like, well, I have this idea. Let's just go do it, or like, let's build on this, or like, let's keep going. And like, because every time I feel stagnant, I'm like, I got to do like something. I got to change the paradigm or do something to like keep not necessarily like the novelty of what I'm doing, but to just like have a widget to play with. And it might fail, it might flop, but it's like, oh, at least I did it. And that's that muscle to flex of like, try new things, fail, it's okay. But if you don't do those new things, nothing great's going to happen. Yeah.
And as soon as, it's a similar thing that I went through. It's like you get the attention of people. People are paying attention to you. They like what you say. They like how you're saying it, all that sort of stuff. And so you think, okay, I have your attention. What else can I do? Oh, the newsletter makes sense. And then, hey, what else can I do? And so what I had gone through just a long season of, hey, what else can I do? Because I clearly did that with restaurants. What else can I do? So I'm having to get to this space right now because monetizing restaurants is different. I can hire staff. Monetizing a media company is quite different from that. As I'm not taking on capital, didn't take on partners. It's just it's bootstrapped, but coming out of that other private equity thing, I haven't hired other people. So I'm now in this position where I would normally hire an operator to come in. So I talk about entrepreneurship as like being a speedboat that's creating a really messy wake behind it, and then an operator comes in behind and cleans up that wake and makes it something that's sustainable, reproducible, all of this sort of stuff. Well, I'm really bad at that, but I'm in this season where I have to get good at it. But because in order to get Borderlands to this space where I can then bring in that operator to help clean up behind me. So people who might look at Borderlands be like, oh, it's so disjointed, or like, I don't know exactly what you're doing, or it's all over the place. Well, like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur building it. I'm not a manager building this thing. I'm not a product person building this thing. I'm just a very messy entrepreneur. And so then I've been spending a lot of time with good friends lately and smart people trying to help me with this major weakness of being a manager and operator to clean up everything. Mm-hmm. And that, so now I'm paring down, which I'm just bad at paring down, because I just like, well, let's do more. Let's keep doing more. But I'm having to get, and if this thing is going to work the way that I think it's going to work, and the way that I hope it's going to work, I've got to pare it down, got to get smart. And that's what this new season of life is. I'm doing all of that here. And I believe that was the right call. Yeah.
That's like such a hard thing to do, of like creating all these V1s. And then you're like, oh shoot, we got to go do a V2. And this isn't as exciting as it used to be, but but there's like an amount of polishing and refining and like making things just a little bit better, because I mean, it's even nicer when there like is an appetite for it. Yeah. Because then you put in the effort, like, oh shoot, people actually do like this. And like, especially comparing, I mean, going from music, which is like very much skills, marketing yourself, and then going to coffee and bars, which is, I mean, businesses as old as time, and you like, there's a playbook that cool, go do it. But with media, it's so ambiguous, and especially in the world of like, there's so many different channels of like, okay, well, do I go focus on YouTube? Do I go focus on like video content? Do I like try to do more social? Like, there's so many different ways you can do it, and it's not necessarily saying like, oh, there's a right and a wrong, but it's like, you only have a finite amount of attention and energy that you can do, but go pick a lane and do it.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. I think, and it's just, it's hard to see the opportunity and know this with our starting brain to be like, okay, I could start that too. You know, it's just so hard for someone like me. It sounds like someone like you too, to like, okay, we got to go through a season of refining. We got to be in this new place. We got to do this place that's not as comfortable, so that for the bigger picture of what's possible on the other side.
Okay. I'm excited for it, because thanks. I mean, especially for how much you've done before, how passionate you are about it, how much thought you've put, like, not even just because like someone told me once, like, well, if they're passionate and they want it, it'll happen. I'm like, no, actually, that's not even close to true. But like, when you are passionate and motivated, but then also are able to be strategic, and actually have a plan, like, and I mean, just like any plan of once you start it, it's going to be wrong, and you have to be able to pivot and learn and be like dynamic about it. Yeah. But those things together usually means you can't lose, especially when you have enough muscle memory of building so many things and so much ambiguity in the past. Yeah. That you're like, cool, just another ambiguous thing I got to go figure out and solve. Like, I guess we'll do this one this time.
Yeah. And then that becomes the addiction, like the adrenaline, the chemicals that fire in moments of risk and all that starts to become the thing that you get, at least that I get addicted to. And then ultra running is the ultimate of that, because you're having to constantly problem solve for 100 miles. And for me, I've failed 8 of 10 times. I still believe I could do a 100 miler in less than 24 hours. I have no evidence to support that. I'm 43 years old, and I think I'm going to do it. I mean, I am so convinced I'm going to get somehow with a 20% finish rate, worst 100 miler in America, that I'm just gonna get a sub 24. I just gotta identify the one and do it, because as you get older, this was a recent podcast I did, that aging is a strategy for ultra running. That is, we had this guy Ludovic Pomeray who just won Hard Rock 100, super iconic race, 50 years old, won it 3 times in a row.
Wild.
50 years old, Frenchman. What does he have going for him? A ton of things physically, of course, and he has good genes, most likely. However, he has a lot of wisdom that only comes with age. And so while my body isn't deteriorating yet, maybe I'm balding, but my muscles are okay, my hips are okay, my bones are okay, I do still believe that at 43, my best running is ahead of me, because that's what this sport gives you, and that I'm going to get the sub 24 hour, because that problem solving, I'm just getting better at problem solving as I get older and older. I'm not overwhelmed by the fact that 100 things could go wrong. In fact, I feel equipped. And even though I know all 100, I guarantee you my next 100 miler, there's going to be a new thing I've never experienced before. And that actually is kind of a fun idea for me.
Yeah. How exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sold. I already believe in you. And that's all I have.
Run it with me.
Then I can start on your path of failing at a 100-mile race.
A race to see who's the worst.
I could do that. Yeah. 5 steps later, maybe not. I mean, who are some of the brands and partners that have, helped get you where you are with Borderlands? Anyone you want to shout out or give credit for them?
Yeah, I got to give Kip Run a ton of credit. They, Decathlon is one of the, it's like the...
I hear they have great colorways too.
They do.
I watched that reel right before we started. Ironically, yeah.
So Kip Run, Decathlon, one of the largest sporting good brands in the world. They have 2,000 brick and mortar stores in 70 countries, but they've never been able to make it work in America
yet.
So they started, So they have a footwear company called Kip Run that's wholly owned by Decathlon, and Kip Run, it's a really stunning portfolio of shoes. And they were the partner that came on with me last year, that gave me a lot of hope that this thing is doable. So year one of a presenting partnership like that, of a 12-month presenting partnership like that, I wouldn't be here right now without it. Now, so then, in talking to the people, it's like, okay, Borderlands works. No, now I need to prove that's not a fluke. So I got to produce a bigger and better one for 2027. So that's why I'm going to UTMB, because that's where all those meetings happen. Mm-hmm. This is a race there, but it also is. This is where
it's where the industry happens.
Where brands are planning budgets. But Kip Run has been huge. But one of my favorites is Naked. Naked Innovation Sports. I love their running belt. The founder, Lindsay Dakota, who lives up in Washington, just a massive fan of that company. I've done some work with Clattermuse, Path Projects has been our presenting sponsor of our race. There's a lot.
Oh yeah, because you guys gave out hats instead of shirts, right?
Yeah. Everybody got a free Path Projects hat for the last 2 years. So I'm thankful. I know a lot of brands. I get to work with a lot of brands. CLA is one of my all-time favorites. I'm finalizing a documentary right now that's not a paid partnership. It's an editorial piece that I'm doing, because I think CLA is there's just a brilliant story to be told there. They are among the first who really built true lifestyle in running, and they stumbled into it on accident back in 2013. I got more pieces like that coming up with Arc'teryx, La Sportiva, where those are editorial non-paid pieces, because there's so much great stories to be told in the industry. But yeah, I think one of the things I do that I most enjoy, I love talking to brands. It's not a labor of I'm just trying to monetize. It's I just genuinely love talking to these entrepreneurs and people in the C-suite who are trying to figure out how to grow running.
Yeah, it's people who have the same mindset of you and are obsessed with it and think about it all the time.
Yes. And they're looking for new ways in, and how can we be more creative, and how can we get in front of a runner? How do we build trust? How do we build the brand in this market? I just love thinking about that stuff.
And it's we kind of talked about it when I was setting up, but when you find yourself doing very unique things, it's hard to find people that understand or appreciate or understand all of the nuance behind it.
Right.
So then when you're sitting in a board or some sort of side room at UTMB with the head of partnerships or whoever from La Sportiva, and you're like, well, did you know about this? He's like, of course I know about that. And you're like, well, did you know? And he's like, yes, exactly. I did know.
Yes, exactly. And what's funny is that at UTMB, everybody wants to work together, because it's such a beautiful city. It's such a cool race, and everybody's emotions are high, and everybody just wants to do something. And then you get back, and it's well, you maybe close 3% of the deals that committed to you while you were at UTMB. But it's just because you get in that room, and everyone's at a 10 in terms of happiness, excitement.
Everybody's a golden retriever with their tail wagging.
100%, because it's just such a cool place to be.
Oh, I know. Talking to Jesse about it, talking to you about it, I need to go experience it.
Yeah, it's otherworldly.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to ask you the 2 questions I always ask at the end of each episode. Okay. Number 1, if you could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about their story and what they're up to, who would you want to hear from?
Well, can I give you 2?
Of course.
One is to say, I already know his story. I think if you could get Asher Safink on here to talk, you'd love it. Your audience would love it. I already know it. But who would I be interested in? You already had Neon Trees, Glenn.
Tyler Glenn.
Tyler Glenn. Loved that would have been one I would have named. Whew, this is a good question. Hopefully your editor will.
The best part about podcast, everyone's always like, well, how did they know so fast? I'm like, oh, we've had to cut out 10 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I really want to think about this for a second. Who would be great would be, I would be interested to hear I've heard him talk running a lot. I'd love to know the person, Caleb Olson. He won Western States last year. He ran my race the year he won Western States, and that he lives in Salt Lake is just so cool. I'd love to hear about the person of Caleb instead of just the unbelievable runner. Another one, probably Leah Yangling, incredible runner also, but she once told me what her day job was. I still don't understand what her day job like it was so over my head.
Yeah.
But there's just so many cool people in the running community. I would love to hear the human, like the human interest side of it, like, and where it intersects with their running. Rachel Drake comes to mind. Tyler Green.
Is Rachel the one? She's a doctor.
I know she's in healthcare.
Okay, there's one who runs for Nike that Jesse told me.
Yeah, it's probably Rachel Drake.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I apologize. I don't know exactly what she does in the healthcare.
I will find out.
So that's okay. So there's all my answers.
I mean,
it's all runners I want to know more about personally, just out of curiosity.
Say less. I can do that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, if people want to find more information about you, start following Borderlands, get more information there. What's the best place to find
I think the launch point would be borderlands.cc. That's the best spot. That'll launch you into the YouTube and all of the original editorial stuff that we publish. Everything there. It's a great starting point.
Deal. Josh, this is such a surprise. Like, I did not expect like the first half of everything, but
yeah.
That's the blessing of the podcast it's like I always go in with a mentality and then it always ends up being better for some reason, no matter how my expectations is. But I'm so excited to see you not just build Borderlands, but build it here and just contribute to the great community that you know what it is. Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you. This is a dream come true. I think being a starter, I see this podcast. As soon as I saw it, I'd seen clips come up in the past, but I was like, this is something I would have started. Like, that's a compliment. Like you saw something, you believe in this city, you think it's cool. Like, that's like, man, I just resonate with that. Yeah. So I love that you did it. I appreciate it.